Show. I'm Mary Grace, the voice of sanity, to help you navigate politics, culture, faith, wellness, and world events. And today we are here with a guest that we love and haven't seen in quite some time, and all because of me. And so we are very happy to have Dr. Troy Spurrill with us. We're doing a live Q&A with Dr. Spurrill. We'll save the Q&A until the end. So if you're watching today and you do have some questions, we'll try to get to some. We won't be as long as we have been in the past, but hopefully we'll just get back on a regular schedule. And how are you doing, Dr. Troy? How's it up in the Great White North in Minnesota?
It's there's a lot going on here in Minnesota in particular, because every time you're looking at the news, there's something like Iran and Minnesota and Venezuela and Minnesota. We're in the thick of it right now for many different reasons. So we're doing well, though. We are thriving in the midst of all the chaos.
Excellent, excellent. So you're not in Minneapolis. Um, so you know that there's a whole new acronym that has come out of the situation that's happening with all of these women that are out there. Do you know what the acronym is?
No.
Awful. AWFL. Affluent, white, female, liberal.
Yes.
So, but your suburb isn't like that, right? That's not really.
No. So the clinic is about 20 minutes south of Minneapolis, so we're actually really close. And
Okay.
so we have a lot of patients from there. I have some kids who live in that area, in those neighborhoods in particular. And so it's very close. But where we live, it's the further away you get from the epicenter, the less like that it is.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I mean, I've heard that for the most part, Minnesota is not like that.
No, it's
And
mostly red.
yeah, that's what I thought. Kind of like Virginia. We're in some trouble here with what we've got going on. But the area that I live in, just really nearby, they're doing the anti-ice stuff.
Yeah.
But you drive 10 minutes the other direction, and people are like, get them all out.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, so this is a wellness show, but I think part of what we're dealing with is mental
Oh, yeah.
illness. So I think that's important. And, since I brought up the topic of mental illness, one of the things that we are seeing, especially since COVID, is kind of an uptick in anxiety and mental illness, but also I think people who are susceptible to messaging and information war.
Yeah.
So have you seen that in your practice?
Oh, yeah. We are seeing a lot more of it. So definitely more anxiety, definitely more depression.
Mhm.
Bipolar, the numbers are significantly higher. And we used to onboard, as a functional medicine facility, we used to onboard schizophrenia type patient about once every 5 years we get one. So it wasn't too often.
Mhm, mhm.
Now we've already had 5 this year, just in the last month.
Yeah, wow.
So we're seeing a lot more. And so
Mhm,
there's a lot mentally, chemically, physically, and spiritually that's involved with all of
mhm,
that. And there's very few places that are addressing all of that. So that's why I think we're seeing a little bit more, because
mhm,
we're speaking about it. And
mhm.
yeah.
Do you think that the juice has had any impact on that?
Yeah, 100%. So
Mhm,
really anything that increases inflammation, and then
mhm.
you
Yeah.
combine that with narratives, and people have lost their identity. They've lost their God-given identity.
Mhm,
So when you lose who you are, and then it's backed by corrupt scenarios and issues. For example, I had a patient she has anxiety. She was in just this morning, and she went for a court case, and it was just over an automobile injury and stuff like that.
mhm,
And she just experienced the prosecutors just lying and lying and lying, and it completely traumatized her, because
mhm.
she's like, that's not who I am. That's not what they're saying about me is not true.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but that's what we're going through in the big scheme of life. And then I talked to her about what the Bible says. Satan's the accuser of the brethren.
Mhm,
He does the exact same thing. So if you know your identity, you know that's what's being said is false.
mhm,
Right now, there's a lot of people who are very confused with what's happening. And in the past, the judges and the righteous people would have stepped in and made decisions, and that's not happening this time.
mhm.
So now these people that are out of the loop are validated in their unbelief and everything else when it comes to their identity.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I think That's good to know because, I think what you're describing with the court system is it's systemic. It's
It's
especially in
yes.
areas that are known to be less red
Yeah,
and where we have prosecutors who have been bought off, and so there's been a huge departure from a pursuit of truth and righteousness,
yeah,
and so it really can affect you. I went through something over the last several months that fell similarly into that category, and the anxiety around it when somebody attacks your identity
yeah,
is very jarring,
it is.
especially when you're just when you're generally kind of a good law-abiding person
Yeah,
and you're not a criminal, and then you have people lying about you.
yes,
It's and it it's like Jesus knows because
he does.
he was lied about and accused
Yeah,
and went to the cross, and yet, you know, if you've lived a life that's pretty much on the straight and narrow and you get hit with that, it's just it's such a gut punch to have
it
something
is.
like that,
Yeah,
especially if it's a situation where, somebody does a rug pull and you think that you thought
yeah,
everything was fine, and then they flip it on you and you go, "How did we get here?" So, I get it, I get it. Now from a, medical and, wellness standpoint, how can people, address that and well, first of all, knowing your identity in
yeah,
Christ, that who you are, but medically, for example, when I went strictly carnivore, I noticed a lot less anxiety, and I hadn't realized that I had this underlying anxiety, and then I was much more calm and relaxed about things. I took things more in stride. But what else can people do? Is there any supplementation?
yeah.
Or and the other question is, can pervasive anxiety be indicative of something else bigger that people need to be aware of?
Well, 100%, because the brain chemistry that's
Mhm,
involved with
mhm.
anxiety, is, serotonin dopamine dependent, and
Okay.
also, a lot of times, our dopamine, which is our feel-good brain chemical, gets converted to, adrenaline when you have too much copper or not enough,
Mhm,
and zinc and copper are part of that. So, there's definitely a biochemical process, but it's also really, really important for people to know that, many times we go through these fires in life, and fires, again, I'm gonna go back to the Bible because it's very pertinent to the medical information about
mhm,
the gift, but God refines us in the fire. So even if Satan intended it for evil, God will take that,
mhm,
purify us.
mhm.
We have to go through
Yeah.
the fire, and we're gonna be tested. We're gonna come out more pure, just like it says in the Bible with silver,
Mhm,
and gold, and so the purification process is needed. We're going through that as a nation right now. So when it comes to these fires, it's important to just know you're not alone. So just like Nebuchadnezzar put them in the fire,
mhm,
and then Jesus, he saw four. So that's what we need to experience. So number one, there's a mindset shift, that know that there's a blessing that comes out of
mm,
getting through this fire. So that stance is crucial, because you know it's temporary. You know you will be tested
mhm,
once you come out of that fire. Now, nutritionally, we want to do exactly what you just did. We want to reduce a lot of the inflammation. You've got to get back to the foundational stuff, which is eat cleaner, pray more, sleep better and deeper.
mhm,
So you focus on all those things that are disrupting that. So one of the challenges people can get into is they're on their phone late at night, looking at all the stuff that causes this angst,
mhm,
and then they try and sleep. Well, that might not be the best time to look at that stuff. We want you to stay
mhm,
informed, but let's pick a different time of the day to do it.
mhm.
Things like
Or
that,
waking up to it, right?
or
I've
waking
been
up to it. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that I've been trying to be much more disciplined about, and, lighting, like,
Yeah.
I switched a lot of my light bulbs to incandescent.
Yeah.
Um, does that make a difference? Like, is
It
that
does,
more
yeah. So
working?
so does natural light versus, even room darkening shades. It depends.
Mhm,
You just gotta know your body, and everyone's a little different. So start
mhm,
where you're at, and really know what works for you and what doesn't. I had one of the, strangest cases where I had a person who couldn't sleep through the night, always woke up feeling exhausted.
mhm,
We pulled blood work, and blood was really clean. It was really good, except for one thing.
mhm.
high IgEs, so which is a sign of allergies to something. So I asked him about his
Mhm.
allergies. He said, "I don't have allergies." I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure you do because your IgEs are really high." Turns out that we had him just kind of clean out from under his bed, and he slept through the night for the first time. And so he told me this, and he said, "Is that like a feng shui thing?" And I said, "No. Hang with me on this one. Did you find any dust bunnies under the bed?" And
Yeah.
he said, "Yes." I said, "I bet
Mm.
you have allergies to dust mites." And sure enough, that was his
Mhm.
allergy. So every night when he'd get into bed, he'd lay down, the mattress would just blow on. He had
Right.
hardwood floors, but there was dust bunnies along the edge that rarely got cleaned. And so he was breathing the dust all night and causing congestion and then not getting deep sleep. So cleaning up the dust under his bed was enough to get him into a foundational sleep pattern that was much improved.
Amazing, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because 'cause I've heard of, like, carpeting and a lot of heavy upholstery and things like that can really affect people, so that's something to look at for sure.
yeah,
I wanted so one of the things that came to my mind as you were talking about that was mold
yeah,
toxicity, and I've been thinking a lot about this because I have a family member that we think may have gotten exposed.
mhm.
And she's young and there's just been a lot going on. And so what are some things that what are some signs of that? And are there ways to detect it on a blood test?
Yeah, so great question because this is actually pretty prevalent. A lot of people
Okay.
don't realize they have mold in their homes, and it can really disrupt how you are doing. So, mold will affect an area of the brain called the hypothalamus, and it binds
Mhm,
to leptin receptors. So, it can affect your digestive system, it can affect your sleep system, it can affect your hormone system. So, you stop regulating cortisol and stress hormones properly, and even
mhm,
the sex hormones, progesterone and estrogen and testosterone. And then it also can affect an area in the nasal passage that cause what's called marcons. So it affects a lot of these different areas. And we also can get inflammation. There's specific lab markers that will rise. VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, TGF beta are two examples. And these inflammatory cardiac markers will actually cause inflammation in your circulation as well. So mold can really disrupt a lot of the natural
mhm,
function when it comes to that. And we see it with digestive issues, and we see it with even mood issues as well. Binders can help. So things like zeolite, activated charcoal.
mhm,
These are things. My favorite one comes from a company called Biocidin, where they have a combination of activated charcoal, clay bentonite, and then the zeolite. It's called GI Detox, but it will bind to the mold spores. And it's important for people to know that 25% of the population can't handle or detoxify general mold. So we're not even talking about black mold, the dangerous type of mold. We're talking
mhm,
about all molds. And so if you're in that 25 percentile, you're getting bombarded even on breathing in small amounts.
mhm,
So you first want to remove the source as much as possible.
mhm,
You can get blood testing for it. It's actually urine testing for mycotoxins. It's pretty pricey, but $600. But it'll see if
mhm,
you're actually um, urinating out a lot of the mold toxins. Now, some of the molds will be from food that we're eating, and we don't know it, and that's fairly normal. But
mhm,
some of the other ones that we have to be concerned from are the water damaged buildings. If you test, like Home Depot will have agar plates that you can put in each room. They're like it's $9.
mhm.
Put one mold plate in each room and see if mold grows, and that'll give you a bit of an idea. That's a cheap, cost-effective way of seeing if you have mold.
Okay, so people who have been through, for example, hurricane,
Yes.
like hurricane so this family member, Hurricane Helene,
Yep.
their basement was full of water,
Yep.
and they, cleaned everything out, but they were spent, like, a week working on that.
Yep.
Prior to that, same family member lived through Hurricane Florence on the
True.
East Coast,
Yeah.
and then was volunteering and helping people clean out their houses.
Yeah.
So, like, we think there may have been years can it accumulate? Like, is it years of accumulation?
It can in genetically sensitive people, and then occasionally it takes root, and you actually are making just like moldy bread can actually be a
Uh-huh.
host for mold. sometimes we can too when we get saturated too much. So
Oh.
that's rare, but it happens. Um, the people who can't detoxify, there's a certain genetic sequence, the HLA-DR is the gene sequencing that actually can be in play with this, and they don't detoxify very efficiently. And so then it bioaccumulates. Most people, when you're
Mm.
removed from the mold source,
Mhm.
not the deadly toxic mold, they're able to detoxify it slowly, and then they're good. This is how I identify mold issues with some of my patients. They go on vacation, they eat
Mhm.
worse, but they feel better because
'Cause they're not around mold.
around the mold. That's right. So that's one way that
Interesting.
happens. That can be a little mental
Mhm.
trigger, saying, "Okay, gotta check my house for mold." One of my favorite tests, and there's a lot of people that kind of argue about this, a lot of doctors, but the doctors aren't really up to speed on how damaging the general mold issues
Mhm.
are. If you go to the website survivingmold.com,
Mhm.
they have a test on there. It tests the dust in your house, and you can get it. It's called an ERMI test, ERMI, and there's another one called Hurts Me. They're very similar, but if you get the ERMI test, it'll measure the dust and then see if your house is safe to live in for someone who has mold sensitivity.
Yeah, interesting. So, if somebody does have the mold sensitivity or toxicity, what do you notice? I think it's probably a relevant topic because so many
Yeah.
people have, been through things like this either recently or in the past, and maybe it affected them long term. What are things that you notice, in the wellness profile of an individual who has that exposure?
So it could be anything from headaches. We see a lot of fatigue
Mhm.
and lethargy. We see digestive dysfunction. And then we start to see chronic immune issues. So they get sick to a lot of different things. It can be chronic UTIs. It could be catching every bug that comes around. We also start to see like low hormones where they stop making
Mm.
hormones. Here's a weird symptom that's a bit of a gem. If you are walking around and you go to like just touch the shopping cart and you get electric shock from it, that's a sign that your antidiuretic hormones become depleted, and that the most common cause of that is mold. And so you're not actually balancing your electrolytes properly, and your
Mhm.
food distribution is off, and so you end up getting shocked when you touch a lot of things.
Really?
Yes. So I remember actually, this is before I was went through my education process, but while I was a student, there was a year where I was like shocking everything. I blew out a
Yeah,
TV screen, and turns out the place I was living in had a lot of mold. I was in my 20s. I didn't know. I didn't care. And
yeah,
but now in hindsight, years later, I found
yeah.
out that was a thing with mold. And I remember that season of me shocking everything.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that was the apartment that had all that mold." I didn't
That
even
is
know.
that is really interesting. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. I would never have seen that, thought about that.
No, it's a
So,
bizarre one.
is anxiety, one of the things that you see with mold?
Yeah, well, it can be anxiety or depression, so it's mood regulation issues. Our ability
Okay.
to manage stress becomes depleted.
Mhm,
So you're more reactive one way or the other. Some people react and get shut down. Some people
mhm.
react with anxiousness, and then either way, you lose your there's a loss of your mental stability. I'll say it that way.
Right, right, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is very interesting. We have, so far, we've got people tuning in live on a couple of channels. As you're coming in, we welcome the comments, and if you're just getting here, this is the Mary Grace Show, and I'm talking live with Dr. Troy Spurrill, and Dr. Troy is a functional medicine doctor, and he is the owner and founder of Official Synapse, and I'm gonna put that up on the screen here. So, you guys do something pretty cool there, and that is you do functional medicine, and what is that? How is that different from if you just call up your GP and go in and say, "Hey, I have a sniffle," or
Yeah.
"I keep getting sick," or whatever it is, what is it that you do that's different? Tell everybody.
Well, it's more proactive. So the medical model is that we know of right now is actually collapsing, and that's actually a good thing. And so we take the best of the Western world, but many, many times people, I'll say it this way, when you have a diagnosis or a disease process, uh, you they only have one solution for you. It's drug, surgery, or referral, maybe sometimes to a different specialist for drugs or surgery or a PT. And so all of these disease processes actually take time to develop. So in functional medicine, you measure communication. When there's a breakdown dysfunction, in function, it becomes dysfunction or a symptom, and then that eventually becomes a disease. So instead of ignoring it or taking some over the counter things to actually hide that symptom or band-aid it, you're looking for root cause stuff and then correcting it, really focusing on the foundational stuff of getting deep restorative sleep, of mitigating and managing stress, of improving the digestive system, and then acknowledging what out there in our environment is interfering with that. Sometimes that is the people in our environment, as we're seeing right now with all this discourse in America and the world, and sometimes it's our
Yeah.
food. So that's why we knew right away when RFK said we're taking red dye out, we knew as functional medicine practitioners that was a good thing.
Mhm.
Because we've been on that for 30 years already, talking
Okay.
about the damage and the dangers, along with the other 84,000 chemicals that are in our food. We have been on that subject for decades now, and we've seen the changes in people when we pull those things out. So we really just look at the mental, chemical, physical, and even spiritual well-being to see where's the breakdown in communication so that we can restore the God-given function.
Excellent. Yeah, and I've seen the results, very helpful for me, and we've had a lot of listeners who have signed on with you guys, and in fact, you've told me that our listeners are pretty dialed in,
Yeah,
and so
very intelligent.
yeah, they're very very proactive
Yeah,
patients who get results, which is good, and so that's another reason I'm glad to have you back on, even though we took a bit of a hiatus, because my audience, I actually have one listener who's asking already about how to connect with you and if you're doing video uh, treatments around the country. So tell everybody where you practice and how it works if they do video chat or consultation with you.
yeah, we're in Eagan, Minnesota, so just south of the Twin Cities, and we do video consultations. However, a there's a lot of things changing right now. We have a bit of our of uh, what do you call it, a target on our backs and stuff. And so there's certain people we can speak with and speak to and
Uh-huh.
do testing, and certain people we can't. Depends what state you're in, depends what the problem is. So we have patients right now from all 50 states and 12 different countries that fly in, and we've worked with them for years.
Mhm.
And so we are hoping that things open up and change as far as some of the rules and regulations, and we can get some of this target off our back so we can just speak to the people and help them.
Mhm.
But in the grand scheme of things, things are
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
So is this a recent development?
Yes, very recent. Last couple weeks.
Is this a Minnesota thing?
It's not it's Minnesota and it's national. So but I'm caught in the middle of a lot of things, and I'm meeting with the new governor here, or one of the
Uh-huh.
people who are running to be governor. So we're
Okay.
hoping we can get in. So we'll see what changes.
Mhm.
We're in
Mhm.
a fight to get good people back in charge.
Yeah, so you must be doing something right. Um, if you've got a if you yeah, if
Right.
you're
Yeah.
coming after you, right? That's for sure. That's usually what happens. So but the short answer is yes, give them a call. You can go to their website. It's official synapse, official synapse.com. You also they actually have a phone number. You can call them. And that number is 651 651 209 9906 and tell them, that you heard about them from Mary Grace, and you will get a free discovery call, and then that way you know if it's gonna work out for your situation, and you can make an informed decision, which is great because you guys are all about informed consent
Yeah.
and cooperation and working together to find solutions and answers, and that's one of the best things about functional medicine is it's a team effort. Your care team is your team, and they're not dictators. They're not just telling you what to do. And that's something that we like, and I think a lot of people have had their eyes opened a great deal in the last 5 years because of what we saw happening in that medical so-called medical space where no one was allowed to question.
Yeah.
And I think it was a real eye opener for some people, maybe not for some, some of us have already been seeing that, and for other people, it was kind of jarring, but hopefully, steered them in the right direction, and that's one reason that we do the work that we do here and have these conversations is to help more people become aware. Do you is there anything on your mind that you wanna share with us about the administration, MAHA, the things that are happening? Because I know you really have your finger on the pulse of that. So, can you fill us in on some things that are at top of mind?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things happening right now, and there's a lot of people working really, really hard. There are advocates within the healthcare community. There's a whole nonprofit political arm their sole job is just to create a path for RFK to do what he needs to do. That was actually identified as a need in Trump 1.0.
Mhm.
So they're doing that, and there's a small window of opportunity, like 12, 14 months. That's it for us to
Mhm.
get the right people in the right seats. So the last 9 years, I'm going to say, has all been about finding who those right people are. Trump is
Mhm.
very, very brilliant when it comes to that. And so uh, that is happening. I believe we're going to get to a point of right to try, which means that that's going to open up a whole bunch of things for people when it comes to trying a lot of things that have been not endorsed, and we'll be able to even speak freely about some of these things on
Mhm.
here. And so we have been in the loop with that. The FLCCC, which was that came to prominence during COVID, has changed its name to IMA, the Independent Medical Alliance, and they're putting out a journal,
Mhm.
a medical journal. It's called a Journal for Honest Medicine, and a
Okay.
lot of us are contributing to it, and it's going well, and it's a very good medical journal that you can get a sense of what the good doctors are doing around the
Mhm.
country. And we're talking. We have chat groups, and we call each other quite a bit, and we're all very, very busy, but sharing information. And what I can say is there's a big, big breakthrough happening. Um, and for any of our listeners in Canada, I will say this: I rarely lose my temper, but I lost my temper recently speaking with a medical doctor from Canada because I have a patient up there who I have concerns is going to take their life. They're suicidal. They're so desperate, and I found
Mhm.
what the problem is, and even put together the solution for them. He just needs a local doctor to onboard to get the medications and the natural stuff. We can send it to him over the border, but
Mhm.
it's so their own system is blocking what he needs. And so I basically said, "You're killing this person." And the doctor finally kind of stopped pushing back and said, "Yes, I know. I'm sorry. Our system is collapsing. There's nothing I can do. I'm stuck." Which she wasn't lying. So, but people are being caught up in that. So we have to get through this season, this fire, not just for us here in
Mhm.
America, but also in Canada and even other countries around the world, because there's a level of desperation I've never seen. But things are
Mhm.
changing and shifting, and so the people that are working on the front lines in America, that's going to shift and slowly spread to other nations. So it starts here with us. And I can just tell you, I've never seen people work so hard when it comes to making changes, and the right people are in there. There's a big burnout factor. So keep supporting the people that you see working behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea how Trump does it other than the grace of God, as far as just the constant. I mean, he was made for this season. Can't
Yeah.
keep up.
I know, I know. I was thinking about him today, and I was thinking, like, if you go to the circus and you see somebody juggling, they're juggling 3 objects, right? And sometimes maybe 4. And then you see the plate juggler, and
Yes.
they and I'm like, Trump is doing, like, all of it. He's juggling the balls, the plates, the thing on his nose. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got something on his foot, right? And then people are shooting him at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
like,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's Trump, and it is supernatural, and, it's funny to me that people get offended by his,
Yeah.
directness or, his, intensity, and I'm just going, I don't think you really understand the level that he's working at
Yeah.
and the vision that he has, but also just the constant nonstop barrage
Yeah.
against him, the opposition that he comes up against all the time, and yet he just keeps going, And, one of the things that he talked about last night in the speech that he gave, the State of the Union, was medical freedom in
Yep.
terms of financial freedom,
Yes.
and so he's saying that, you can pick your doctor, pick your healthcare, pay for use your own money to choose. Do you have ideas about what that's gonna look like?
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
glad you brought that up because here's the thing, a lot of people will make decisions about their health based on what healthcare will actually cover, and that's the
Insurance, yeah.
problem. Our insurance, yeah, and our insurance is not set up to actually keep you healthy. Just like your car insurance, when does it pay? When there's damage to the car. Same thing with your house insurance. When does it pay? When there's damage to the house,
Mhm,
flood or hail or something like that. So our insurance world is set up when there's already damage to your body and then drugs and surgery. So we know that's a broken system. So what they plan to do is give you the freedom to make a choice. The only way to do that is to have everyone get HSAs, health savings accounts.
mhm,
There will be a lot of this is my guess based on conversations. This is my best guess of what's going to happen.
mhm,
It's going to be HSA driven. Everyone gets a choice, but for that to work, Trump has to flip the script on the budget and all the
mhm,
financial stuff. So we have the funds for a national HSA program. So when that happens, that's why the tariffs are such a big deal. That's why the fraud is such a big deal. Cleaning all that up and then instantly having trillions of dollars for HSAs to help people choose what they want. If they want to go a traditional medical route, here's your HSA to cover
mhm,
that. If you want to go a functional medicine proactive route, here's your HSA to cover that.
mhm. So how does that work logistically when you factor in the insurance companies? And I'll give you an example. I hear stories frequently of people, doctors, who are practicing in hospitals saying, "This patient needs this procedure or they will die."
Mhm.
And it was approved by insurance, but now it's gotten, rejected on the 11th hour, and so we're fighting with the insurance company, and so you have, insurance, uh, clerks who are not medically trained sitting behind a keyboard making a decision about a life-saving treatment, and this has become a prevalent, widespread problem in the medical industry. What do you see happening with that when we flip over to this different model?
Well, see, I think things like that will become easier to navigate because if
Mhm,
more people are proactive, there's a less of a demand on the emergent urgent situation. So that's an emergency scenario where you need a life-saving
mhm.
procedure, things of that nature. And
Okay.
if the insurance world is not being taxed completely with these other problems, then they'll be more apt to do something like that. Now, the problem is when a system gets overloaded, we can look at Canada again, because what Canada has onboarded under the guise of being caring and supportive is a
Mhm,
suicide for these patients that are at such a level that are struggling and suffering. And just like everything else, as soon as that came out, I knew it would start to get abused. So now you're seeing stories of younger people who are struggling through something, who are choosing that. And yes, in some of these cases, these people are really suffering a lot, but they've not tried like all the other alternatives out there. They've just tried everything
mhm,
that's accepted in their socialistic model. And so it's really a money saving deal
mhm,
to actually do something like that because a lot of times our right now we know this we're living longer because of our healthcare system right now. That is true,
mhm.
one of the reasons, but we're suffering longer. It's not quality of life.
Right.
People are just they're living
It's
too short,
lifespan.
dying too long.
So
It's
it's
just
yeah.
completely flipped. So that's very costly. The majority of our expenses in the healthcare world come at the end of life. And if people are hanging on by a thread because they're very unhealthy taking all these medications, they could live
Mhm.
decades like that. Whereas
Right.
healthy patients literally get sick and die within a week.
Mhm. Yeah, or they die doing something they love,
Right.
like we had a friend who, he loved golf, and
Yeah.
he actually died on the golf course.
Yeah.
But, the doctors had told him, "Don't play golf," and he was like, "No, I love golf, like,
Yeah.
if something happens to my heart when I'm on the golf course, it happens," right? So, that's interesting. I hope, I mean, I know that it's just a very, big behemoth
It is.
of a system, and, we have so much entitlement. Now, one of
Yeah.
the things that I'm hoping will help this is that I know the administration has been quietly pulling benefits away from people who aren't qualified and never were
Yep.
qualified, especially non-citizens, and, they're making it harder for people to come here if they're not independently, self-sustaining. So I think that helps, and I'm hoping to see a huge drop in that type of entitlement, which will help more Americans get access to what they need.
Yeah.
Even from everything, people somebody said the other day, like, if you're wondering why your food is so expensive, it's because 'cause you're paying for food for, like, 50 million people,
Yeah.
every time you go to the grocery store. Um, I think we want to, I wanna answer a few questions because
Sure.
we're pushing time here. Now, one of the questions about your payment model is, and that we may have just answered this, so do you take insurance? I can answer that. So, no. And the reason is just because of what we just explained, and because the insurance model is really not set up for the type of, proactive care that a functional medicine team would be providing. For example, I think I can answer this because 'cause I've asked you this before. When if you guys want to get some testing done, for example, for vitamin D,
Yep.
insurance doesn't pay for that because it's not indicative of a sickness per se,
Right.
and so it's not tied to a diagnosis, it's tied to an exploratory, test to see where somebody is on a spectrum of overall wellness or sickness. And so if Dr. Troy asks for an array of blood work and it's not coded the way the insurance likes it, then the insurance will reject it. And that ties the hands of the practitioners in his office. And they then all of a sudden, you've got people behind a desk without a medical degree deciding what
Yep.
tests you do and don't need.
Yeah,
And
then we
then
don't have the data that we need to make the
yeah.
decisions, number 1. Number 2, it's an inflated price. So, for example, our
Mm,
baseline lab, we measure 100 different markers that your doctor could never order because you'd have to have 10 to 15 different medical diagnoses to validate insurance covering it. We look at the patterns in those 100 markers, but when we pull insurance out, those 100 markers, if you run through insurance, costs about 15 to $1,800 in the insurance world. And when we pay the lab directly, it costs us $350.
yeah.
So you save $1,500, $1,400 by taking insurance of it. Plus, you get all this extra information of what's working within the body, and even things like sleep disorders, like I was talking about. UC Berkeley has identified 102 different sleep disorders, but historically, they only look for about 8 because they only have certain things that are the insurance will cover. They'll
Mhm.
look for sleep apnea because they have CPAPs. And so they don't look for all the other sleep disorder causes because if they
Mhm.
don't have a insurance driven
Yeah.
solution, they're not gonna test for it. So they miss a whole bunch of these sleep
Mhm.
disorders, and many of them are diet and lifestyle and nutrient issues.
Mhm.
Very, very cheap to actually correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things you said earlier was that with car insurance, they pay when your car breaks down. With homeowners, they pay, when your roof leaks,
Yep.
gets torn off or something. And the thing that I've noticed with insurance is that we've gotten into this habit of doing only what the insurance pays for.
Yeah.
And so, and it becomes sick care. So people
Yeah.
instead of taking care of themselves and being proactive because the insurance doesn't cover it, they wait until they're sick, and then they go on this pill and that
Yeah.
treatment because the insurance covers it. And to me, that's the equivalent of waiting until you get 4 bald tires
Yeah.
and then, your car wrecks and then you make an insurance claim
Right. Yeah.
because the car wrecked because you had bald tires. Well,
Yeah.
if you had actually rotated your tires and changed them, proactively, you wouldn't have bald tires, you wouldn't have a wreck, you probably wouldn't have broken a bone. And so but people have gotten into that mindset with their own bodies, like
Yeah.
most people take better care of their vehicle and their house than their body because they know insurance doesn't cover new tires.
Yeah.
It's on you.
It's true.
Right? So, people we gotta be proactive and take care of ourselves. So, Trump's plan would be to allow a
Sure.
scenario where
Yep.
you can actually proactively
Yep.
do what you need to do and not wait until the wheels fall off literally,
Yeah.
before you get the care you need in
Exactly.
a system that's designed to keep you sick, right?
Yep.
We have a question. Any suggestions to improve the lymphatic system?
Oh, this is such a problem right now. More and more people are having issues with their lymph system. So, lymph literally means it's Greek for fast flowing river. So, a lot of us know that our lymph nodes will swell up when we have sickness and things of that nature. But all of our cells will onboard oxygen and glucose fuel, and
Mhm,
then they'll have like a car has gas and then exhaust. So do our cells, and they'll have byproducts of metabolism that get
mhm,
dumped in our lymph. So our lymph is filling up right now. And so things like hormones, like cortisol, can really negatively impact our lymph. Same thing with sleep disorders, can negatively impact our lymph. The number one thing that destroys lymph is sugar, because it's like taking a flowing river and you're dumping all this sugar into it, and it can cause
mhm,
problems. And so, with that being said, you want to make sure you stay hydrated for lymph. For your lymph to move, you also need physical exercise. Muscle contraction is what pushes our lymph. So, very, very important to keep the lymph going. If your lymph is not responding, the two most common causes for that are inflammation in your circulation system. So, we've seen a ton of this since COVID. They have even venous insufficiency and things of that nature. So, people like diabetics get lymphedema, and lymph problems.
mhm,
But if you can uh, do just some support for your liver, so fasting helps the lymph. Liver detox shakes is what we use a lot of, and helping support nutritionally the liver system, and getting the water levels up with good circulation helps the lymph. Cleavers is a great herbal product that can help the lymph, but that
mhm,
pulls the water out. And again, there are many, many causes of lymph issues. Like we just talked about with mold, mold can disrupt the hormone that helps balance the
mhm,
fluid,
mhm,
and that'll affect your lymph. So lymph is very, very important. Someone mentioned massage can help with lymph too. Absolutely. So muscle contractions, lymph massage. And so you want to look at where the lymph is being trapped. The most common areas being trapped is through the liver and the bowels. So if you're constipated, it can back up the lymph. If your liver is overwhelmed from eating too many seed oils, that can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver. We're
mm,
seeing a lot of that with our food source here. That's very, very common. And then glyphosate and other things of that nature can
mhm,
also contribute to that. Oh, I want to mention glyphosate, because RFK and Trump are getting a lot of flack because they just approved a glyphosate component being made in the United States. I need to speak to that
mhm,
because
okay,
a lot of people know that glyphosate is bad for us, but a lot of people don't know is that China was actually manufacturing the majority of that glyphosate. And so by onboarding it in the US, it gives us control back of that, with a plan to
mm,
slowly down regulate the production of it. Because if you stop the production of it right now, we wouldn't actually have enough food to actually feed our population right now.
okay, so we have to wean off.
We have to wean off of it, but we also have to shift our food supply back to a healthy version. And one of my favorite people is on RFK's advisory board. He's called the lunatic farmer.
Yes, Joel
Yes,
Salatin.
yes. So he
Yeah,
and so he knows this, and so he's very brilliant with his recommendations, and and what he talks about.
Mhm.
So very, very important.
Regenerative and regenerative farming.
We
Um,
gotta get back to it.
I wanna mention something about so I wanted to ask you about, like, rebounders, but also for
Mhm.
people who are looking for some detox, especially from glyphosate, we actually have, something in our superfood store, it's called Biomedic. If you go to my Mary Grace Essentials and click on the superfood reset, it'll take you to our superfood store, and, you can buy that. It's a capsule. It's actually clinically proven to help detox your body from the, um, the glyphosate,
Yeah.
and it's Biome Medic. And then you can also get a fulvic zeolite drops from our superfood store. So just go to the link on your screen, marygracewellness.gethealthy.store, and there's a banner at the top that takes you directly to the superfood store. So check that out, and then also, while you're at my, Mary Grace Essentials, we work with the manufacturers of supplements. Speaking of where they're made, you're not guaranteed the purity and the authenticity when you buy from big box stores. If you go to my essentials store and you're looking for brands that you want to trust, like Pure Encapsulations or Thorne or, Nutritional Frontiers, you can see we're selling you those actual products because
Yeah.
we are sourcing directly with those manufacturers. So that's Mary Grace Essentials. It's marygracewellness.gethealthy.store. It's also, on my website, if that's easier for you, just go to marygracemedia.com and go to the store. You can also access my superfood store from there. But again, the fulvic zeolite and the Biome Medic are in that superfood store, and they're great products, and you can use my promo code, Mary Grace Media, and get some savings off of that. It's a really pure, uh, US-made product that will help you. Okay, so just wanted to bring that into the conversation, and, Dr. Troy, so vibe plates and rebounders, does that help with anything? I
A
see those.
Well, there was some negative stuff that came out about vibe plates, but we actually tested it in our
Uh-huh.
clinic.
Okay.
We have 3 different types of vibe plates, the power
Yeah.
plate all the way down to some other vibration plates, and it 100% helps with the lymphatic
Okay.
component as well. There was some messaging around, the benefit with osteoporosis or not, but we've had osteoporosis patients regain on their DEXA 8% of bone after years of loss and loss and loss. So we know, and that's a part of what we do, is
Mhm.
the vibration plates as well. So we
Yeah.
know there's benefit to it. So yeah, we got to get that movement in there to get the lymph
Mhm.
and everything flowing. Because one of the other problems is, and sweating is super important. When we drink water, if everything in our lymph becomes hardened, the water we drink just bounces off of the hardened lymph, the hardened areas, and
Mhm.
we just pee it out. We have to be taking that water and absorbing it into our cells and even sweating it out. That'll start to pull the water through your cells when you sweat it out. So sweating is so crucial when it comes to this whole process of lymph and
Mhm.
getting the fluid moving in the right direction.
Interesting. So, that's good to know. I'm trying to find a link for a vibe plate up here so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, 'cause I don't know if you guys know I have an Amazon store, so some things you can buy on Amazon. Just be careful with your supplements, guys. So you really wanna watch that, because they're not Amazon is not good at, I guess, vetting and quality control, okay?
They don't vet them at all, and a lot of companies out of China will actually, print labels of reputable companies and then put literally sawdust and other stuff in the pills.
Yeah, so
Have
just
to know the distributor. Yeah.
yeah, just be really careful about that. So I'll show you what I mean by vibe plate. I'm gonna put this on here, um, and because there's, my physical therapist, they have that, in their office, and it's really big, but now people can buy them for home. Like, here's one that's $99, $73, like, so I think, that's not bad. Um, and, so let me put this in here. And, the other thing, like the mini trampoline, is that something too that you've seen
Yeah.
success with?
Yep,
Um,
good for certain people if you can get into it. Some people love how they feel afterwards, so you just have to be a little more careful on those ones. Make sure you're steady enough to actually do that. Very, very helpful though.
mhm,
And yeah, the plates can be, generally speaking, there's kind of lower end ones that are $200,
mhm,
and like you said, the $70 to $200, those are good enough for just general shaking
mhm.
stuff. And then you have others that are like six, 800, $1,000, and those ones
Yeah.
we haven't found any difference between that and the
Okay.
$200 ones.
Okay.
But the power plate and those ones that get into the 3,500, 4,000, there is a big difference with those ones,
Okay.
and they
Yeah.
do stuff that's different. So
I think those are the ones that my, like, the PT has.
yeah, that's okay.
Like, they weigh a ton, right?
Yes, they do.
So,
You don't want
yeah.
to move them.
And they like, when you turn them on, they move the whole floor.
Yep.
But, yeah, so I put a vibration plate up there for people who wanna check it out and see what it's about. And then the thing about the mini trampolines too is I think for most people, they have one that comes with a handle so you can hold on to it, which probably is recommended, for most people so you don't fall off. And I've seen, I mean, there's tons of videos online, but, you don't even have to pick your feet up. You can just kind of bounce on it, right? And you
Absolutely.
get benefit from that as well. So I think let me just see. I don't think we have a ton of questions today, and I know we wanna stick to our deadline. Oh, hi, Valerie. I see somebody I haven't seen in a while. One of our California friends. So, good to see you here. Well, we're talking to Dr. Troy Spruill, official Synapse, and they're located in Minnesota. They work in all 50 states and 12 countries. And what they offer is functional medicine. If you're looking to be proactive issues, oh, I don't know what just happened there. You're dealing with issues that you're just not sure what to do. Maybe you had an ongoing thing that your traditional doctor hasn't been able to help you with. Um, Contact them. Let them know what's going on. You get a free discovery call. Tell them Mary Grace sent you, and see what happens. We've had very, very happy patients who've come through the Mary Grace show, who've worked with Dr. Troy and his team. And so you just never know. Um, so anything else we wanna say today, Dr. Troy?
No, I had one more thought when it came to the glyphosate, just because it popped
Yeah.
and mental illness. There's a component because glyphosate can disrupt glycine levels, and glycine is needed for the liver to detoxify, number one, but it's also a part of how we make and process active folic acid when it comes to methylating in the brain. So it has an impact on how we make serotonin and dopamine and and GABA, the feel good brain chemicals.
Hmm,
So you're more prone to digestive disturbances and mental imbalances the more you consume genetically modified foods.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I think, if you look at some of the biggest, sources of glyphosate in the diet, um, anybody who has kids or grandkids, Cheerios
Yeah.
are just loaded with glyphosate. So that is not a good source of snacks
No.
for your kids. Pretty much any grains, but especially Cheerios, that's a common first food, and no, it's just it's so toxic.
Yep.
And I guess people think it's benign because it doesn't have the coloring, right?
Yep.
Bad idea.
No.
So, okay, I put my website up there. You can find links to Dr. Troy's practice on my website. You can find links to my superfoods store. You can find links to Mary Grace Essentials, pretty much everything up there. You can also find a link to our mailing list, and that way you can stay in touch and get an email when we have shows like this. And like I said, we took a bit of a break, but we're back and we will be back soon. Anything else you want to say before we sign off today, Dr. Troy?
No, I just encourage everyone to just hang in there. We are in a season of revelation, and a lot of things are coming to the surface and being dealt with. And as we go through this last little fire next year, in particular, it's going to be more of a season of redemption and making real change that we get the.
Good.
So we're there, and we're seeing behind the scenes a lot of miracles in the healthcare world when it comes to
That's great.
changes happening, changes of
Yeah.
heart posture in staunch medical people that are now just talking differently. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
And just, just the childhood schedule
yeah,
alone, I mean, that's a huge. I'm not gonna say the word,
yep,
but it's a huge,
yes,
huge leap. Somebody's suing them, because of that, right?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, and, but that's tremendous, right? From
yep,
70 some jabs to 11, I think,
yeah,
which is, wow.
yep.
That in itself is great. So, everybody, thank you for being here. I think we're gonna be back Friday with Dr. Sean Baker, the carnivore doctor for Healing America and Beyond, and, if you're in a place where you're able to go outside, touch some grass, look at the sky, leave your phone behind, talk to God, um I've started being less plugged in. Um, I went to the beach and went for walks without any electronics. It was great. Wore my old school watch, regular like this, look at that.
Still tells time.
It's so good. It works great. Yeah, love it. Um, so, so try that, people. Just, get out and breathe fresh air and especially turn off your devices at night, don't have them near you, all that. So, I think that's it. Let me just see if we have any more, yeah, I think we're good. So, thanks again, everybody, for being here, and we will be back soon, and please bookmark, Mary Grace Media, follow me on my social media channels wherever you're watching, and we will be back soon. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.